Welcome back for another episode of Dear Source, your Ascendancy Hotline. Today we're going to tackle the topic of discernment. And what is discernment? And I think discernment is linked to intuition and how you really know truth. How do you know what you know to be true? As I've shared many times, I think it's very hard in our culture and society today to really tune in to that internal knowingness of who we truly are. Like, how do we discern what our truth is? Because we also are going to have a lot of things occur in the 3D world that are going to essentially be testing us to affirm our truth. And I've talked about this in previous episodes regarding the ego. And in the Course in Miracles, it speaks to the ego being our own energy essentially used against ourselves. So if we think of ourselves as a divine being, that we're equally divine and we're equally human, and our ego is the humanness of us, and our divinity is the other element of us. And we are emanations of God. We are part of Source. We are how God experiences his divinity is through the human experience and through us remembering the truest, highest, most authentic version of ourselves, that we are love, we are abundance, we are whole, we are complete, we are all that is. That is the essence of who we are. And then we have our human experience that's testing us to help us remember what is actually true. And anytime we have a negative, what we would perceive as negative, because really everything's neutral, there's neither good nor bad, it's just isness. It just is. What is it teaching us? And is it returning us to the highest and greatest version of ourselves? Are we getting ourselves pointed back to our truth? And one of the things that comes up a lot is, how do we really get to a state of knowingness, a state of discernment? And what I find very challenging as a human being is sticking with that knowingness and being comfortable in sitting in that truth, knowing that many people may or may not agree with you. And it is okay to maybe be the only one that thinks something, or be the only one that knows something. And so how do you really discern the truth? And when you know the truth, then how do you act in the world knowing what you know? And I think as we go on this journey of human evolution, which we're on, and it's getting very, very intense. I've said this before, and if I look at the world and what's going on in the world, it's really happening because it's the universe is trying to get us to remember who we truly are. Do we remember that we are divine? Do we remember that we are God eternal within the body? Because if we look at what's going on in the world, it's essentially doing everything to truly test that. Like, this is a war of our own divinity, of our own humanness. And when we think about how amazing we are as human beings, the fact, and I keep repeating this because I want everybody to hear this, if you do your research and look up what does our DNA spell in every ancient language when they've unhelixed it, the scientists, and used the periodic table and laid out the elements and compared that with the ancient alphabets, all of them spell God eternal within the body. You are God made manifest on this earth in your human body. Your body is a temple for God. And everything that we choose to do is a reflection of our consciousness and our remembrance. And whether that's the discerning what to put into your body through either foods, potentially medications, you name it, everything that we do, you have to discern, is that in alignment with the truest essence of myself, which is, again, God eternal within the body? Am I making choices that reflect the divinity of who I am? And if the answer is that no, then we have the opportunity to change that. And a lot of times I think of like my choices that I've made oftentimes are when I'm kind of unconscious, or asleep, or just, not really fully awakened to who I am. And when I'm fully awakened to who I am, I make very different choices. And those choices then reflect in everything that I do and are then output as part of that. And so I would really challenge every person to look, is the decision I'm making in alignment with the remembrance of I am God made manifest in this body, and what I'm doing honoring God? And if the answer is no, then that's your opportunity to make a different choice. And everything is energy. Everything is a vibration. So everything that we put into our body, that we read, whatever, anything that we're taking in is energy, which then means that affects our energy. We are an energetic being. We are our soul. Our soul is energy. Our soul is infinite. It goes on forever and ever and ever. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, which means our soul is infinite. We are infinite beings living in a finite physical body in this carnation, in this world at this present time. And so is every choice we're making in alignment with that remembrance? And when I make choices, am I making choices from that state of being, of my wholeness and my oneness with all that is, and oneness with the universe? Or am I making choices that are in separation from our ego and disconnecting us from the natural intelligence, which is the universe? And when we make choices that are not in alignment with the universe and from the one principle of we are all interconnected, there's only one of us here, we're all here to love each other as we love ourselves, because every person is just a reflection back to us of where we can grow, because every relationship is serving us for our highest growth. If we really are embodying that, then we are going to live these incredible lives. And when I think about like what's occurring on our planet at this time, it's trying to point us back to that's the truth. And it doesn't feel like that's what's occurring, but it's all the things are happening around us for the highest and the greatest good of us, to remember who we are. So if we can take a step back and go, what is the highest thing that I am supposed to know about myself, that I am divine, I am love, I am the infinite abundance of the universe. And then how does that show up in relationship with everything else? And so that's where, when we really tap in, that's where we really activate our universal wisdom. Like when we're really tapped in with that truth, we are tapped into the knowingness of all that is. We are tapped into the infinite wisdom that the universe has to give us. And in that infinite wisdom, we can then be very discerning. When we don't activate, when we don't question, when we don't look at something through the eyes of what am I supposed to learn and discern here, we're essentially asleep. We're essentially disconnected from the natural intelligence that God gifted us with. So having some discernment, being able to see through what's really going on, spending time questioning what is happening, of what's really going on here and what's this pointing me back to, that's where we really then start to harness our powers. Our rights as a human being are given to us by God. They are instilled in us from the very beginning and from our inception in time. Our rights don't come from governments. They don't come from policies and procedures at companies, schools, whatever it is. They come from our Creator. And we are here to abide by one universal truth and law: to love each other, love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Every other human is an emanation of us. So if I see every person as divine and a reflection of God Himself, and essentially that then being me, I can show up in right relationship with that individual. And then we do loving things. When we see people as separate from ourselves, we do unloving things because we see other people as a means to an end. We see that we are supposed to get something or take something from them rather than just, I'm going to give wholly of myself and I'm going to receive back wholly of myself. If I am love, I am receiving back love from every person I interact with. So we have an ability like to really, really, really tap into who are we, God eternal within the body. Why are we here? To become the highest expression of ourselves, of that divinity. And then how do we then show up in relationship with everybody else once we know that? And how do we discern and use our intuition to then live a life that is truly divine? When things don't feel right and we question them, that is, does this align with the truth of God? And if the answer is no, that's your discernment. That's not the universal wisdom that I was gifted. And we should be questioning, quite honestly, everything. Does that align with God? Does that align with God, source, the universe, divine? Is that God's law? And if the answer is no, there's our discernment to go, okay, something's not in alignment and I need to do something differently before I act in the world. And we can act in the world, but when we don't act in alignment with God, what we get back is karma. We get back lessons. We get back lessons to go, I want you to align with the highest truth of who you are. And so I get lessons. I'm a human being. I've had a lot going on in my life recently that's really, really, really tested this. What do I discern? What do I hold to be true? And then how do I hold that truth in a loving container that honors myself, but every other person that I interact with? And everything that's occurring is a divine gift for myself to remember the essence of who I truly am. And I've had people call me names. I've had people share some interesting perspectives about certain things with me, and really challenging what I know to be true and to hold this space. And I will tell you, as you start to step into higher vibrations of consciousness, higher alignment with yourself, more heart-spaced consciousness of being unconditional love, knowing the truth of who we are, knowing the truth that we are divine, knowing the truth that we are interconnected and one with every other thing in this universe. We are in relationship to everything. You will get tested, and it will be really uncomfortable. And stepping into that, it can be very unpleasant. And it's a test. It's a test to know, what do I know to be true? And am I willing to hold that space? Because I will tell you, it is very easy. And I think we often do that when we're on a spiritual journey, is we easily and quickly like to just lower ourselves to match the vibration of another human being because we don't want it to be uncomfortable. And as we raise our vibration, that makes a lot of other people that are not on the spiritual path maybe yet uncomfortable. And that's just the reality of it. And what I would say is, don't ever dim your light. Don't ever back down from the truths that you know to be true, and to sit in that uncomfortability, because that's where the growth and the magic happens. And even if it makes other people uncomfortable, you consciously raising your vibration, you consciously shifting, gives everybody else access to doing the same. So as we continue to embark on this journey of human evolution, of spiritual enlightenment, whatever you want to call this journey that we're on, is a human race, as a human species, and to look at the world and go, why does it feel so chaotic? It's because we're pushing through to the next level of being the way that Christ asked us to be love, and to look at love, and to be in union with each other. So if I can see every other human being as my brother or sister, as a reflection of myself, and to remember that we are all divine, no one holds any power over us. And that's the journey that we're really here on. It's not the 3D things that we oftentimes talk about or think that we're fighting for. So tap into what you know to be true. Tap in to that internal knowingness. Tap into your intuition. Tap into your discernment, and be willing to hold that vibration on this journey, no matter how uncomfortable it might become, because that's where the magic and transformation is going to happen for us. Is the society is all of us tuning in to the remembrance of who we are. We are God, eternal within the body. Okay, so tune in tomorrow for more topics around how we live an enlightened life, how we live in a state of love, peace, divinity, ease, flow, just a different level of beingness. So join me on the journey. Ask your questions. Tell me what you're challenged with. I'm challenged with a bunch of stuff. What questions do you have? What do you want to know? I want to create a culture where we are the highest and greatest expressions of ourselves, that we have a community where you learn that you hold all the answers within yourself. It's tuning out the external noise and tuning into yourself. And I am here all along the way. And so if you ever want to work with me, there is a link in my bio for you to book time on my calendar. I'd love to have a one-on-one consultation with you, find out where you are, where you feel challenged, and how I may assist you, or maybe someone else can. So lots more to come on Dear Source, but please know that all I extend is love and light, and to help raise the vibration of the human collective so that we might have the most spectacular realizations of who we are on this planet Earth at this time. So lots in love and light. Tune in tomorrow, and I will talk to you then.